Welcome to America's Heroes Group.
America's Heroes Group, Roundtable, She Serves, She Matter, She Voices. Coalition with partner Sistah Soldier. Today is Saturday, July 10th, 2021. Our host is Cliff Kelly, the governor of Talk Radio, and I am his co-host, Colonel Dr. Damon Arnold. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith, and our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega, Scouts Honor Productions. Today we have a panelist, Wanda Petty. She is a U.S. Army veteran and president CEO of She Vet Inspire. And Wanda has a really incredible history. She is a career strategist and inspirational activist who helps veterans, women, and minorities identify and pursue their purpose. She's the CEO, host, and producer of She Vet Inspires television show and partner of She Voices Coalition. You can see her at www.sistahsoldier.com. And today we're going to be discussing the reinvention of self or business during a recovering economy. We have been hit hard by this pandemic. So, Wanda, it's such an honor always to have you on. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you there today?
Oh, great. So, how do we know when it's time for a change? All of us sort of mull around. We think, oh, maybe I should do something different. But how do we know?
Well, we know when it's time for a change and time to reinvent ourselves, because when something unexpected happens, a crisis, or simply we just desire to have some kind of change,
Mm-hmm.
It literally is a transformation of yourself or a business, because sometimes we know what to do and sometimes we don't know what to do. And it's usually caused by something that we didn't expect to happen. And it's an abruption, So when we have an abrupt event that we have to start reevaluating ourselves, then we know it's time to kind of like adjust and really look at things in a different way.
Mm-hmm. But then, once we make that decision, I need to make a change in my life. What are the steps to, assessing what should change in our lives, a career, to lessen the hardship, if any? Because usually you have a hardship that's causing you to force you into a change. If everything is going great and you feel 100%, you're not going to make so much of a change. But if you feel like this is the time I need to change, what should I do? What are the steps I'm supposed to be taking?
Well, Dr. Arnold, first we have to kind of like look to see, okay, first, we got to really understand that reinvention is not about changing ourselves or doing something that someone else wants us to do. Mm-hmm. It has to be something that we're looking to do and that we're comfortable in doing. And it usually comes from signs of being boredom, daily tasks of things that we're doing on our job, and maybe looking at the economy is changing as what we're experiencing right now. And the different types of things we have to look at to do that. We have to evaluate where we are because of those changes. Mm-hmm. And we have to see what's happening in our industry that's causing us to have to take a shift. Maybe it's something like low sales, or there's a slow demand in the economy. We're looking at something like that in the restaurant industry, where restaurant owners have to reevaluate how they're going to deliver to their customers because they're not having the employees that they once had, Mm-hmm. So it's something like that we have to start looking and reevaluating our situation and see what capabilities we have. Where are we currently at right now? How are we going to get from point A to point Z? And what are our limitations? Those limitations can be something that's mental. It could be physical. It could also be our financial abilities. And in the situation of a business owner, we have to look at maybe our location. The building that we're trying to get back into may not be occupiable anymore because our employees don't want to come and work in a physical location. So we have to take all of those things in consideration.
Yeah, because, you said something really that's a pearl in that. And it sounds like you were saying that a person really has to do a little bit of soul searching and find out what their passion is. Because if your alignment with your passion, that tells you a lot about, this is something that I should be pursuing because it overcomes my boredom. It also, is in alignment with, I feel fulfilled by what I'm doing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then we got to look at what resources are available to us when we're doing this evaluation. Are we, what do we have in our hands right now that we can just go with now to start working with that change and without feeling like it's impossible, because nothing is impossible if we start where we are. But all of that starts with assessing. Mm-hmm. So from someone who is in that position, whereas they are that restaurant employee who was working at a restaurant and the restaurant doors aren't open and they have less employees coming back to work, and their skill right now is, I've only been working in a restaurant. I need to know what else I can do, what else is out there available for me. Assess where we are. Everything starts with assessing where we are.
Okay, yeah, because, and that really goes to a very, very important point. So I have to do an assessment of what resources I have, what tools I have, what abilities I have. And, and it goes back to, what are my interests, what are my aptitudes, and what are my abilities? And how does that fit into a picture of doing something? So before you can go on to move forward with actionable goals, you have to have those resources ready to go, right, in order to take action.
Yes.
So how do you move forward with actionable goals?
Well, once you've looked at everything, you decided, okay, this is what I have, this is what I need to do next, and start taking action. You had to have looked at it from an eagle view. Mm-hmm. And then you now want to start looking at what kind of foundation can I create that's going to support me in this process. And that goes back to communication. And I think communication is the key to it all. Because if we don't start saying what we want and being clear with what we desire to do or be or have, then it just causes us to stay where we are more or less than being able to move forward. So that means getting out and creating a network of people, using the network that we already have so that we can express to others what we are out to do, and using the tools of what we have to be able to help us start moving forward. One of the one thing that I really started thinking about as I was, considering this conversation here, mm-hmm. is the communication, the level of communication that we have in the military is totally different than what the civilian mm-hmm. workforce has. Okay. And when we are reinventing ourselves and making this transformation, the biggest thing that I think we have to consider is the words, the jargon that we are using. Mm-hmm. We're taught in the military to be specific, use certain type of jargon and brief sentences. And mm-hmm. part of the transition phase that we go through is that we really have to learn to start being clear in communicating how we are going to do what we need to do so that everybody understands.
Oh, very good. So they have a full picture of what you're talking about, because they may not be thinking on that same level or communicating in that same way. Because you were mentioning before, which I thought was really profound, is, building a sustainable long-term foundation, right, in our relationships, wellness, and career. So part of that is the communication. And we have, in order to effectively communicate, what you're saying is that we have to actually make sure that our jargon, our vocabulary we use, the way we express our ideas is consistent with the private sector.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Because when we're going through a transformation phase, the communication is so key that it not only can help us to be clear, to have others understand what we're doing, but we also begin to learn to advocate for ourselves. We learn to advocate for our health. We learn to advocate for our business. and then the workflow process that we are transforming from and to becomes more effective because we are communicating clearly.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, and you mentioned something else, Wanda, that was really interesting, and it was really talking about the businesses and some of the struggles and things that they're contending with. And when you were talking earlier, I thought immediately about Southwest Airlines canceling half of their flights because they didn't have enough flight attendants and personnel, for the planes. And so in what ways can business owners generate income to sustain their businesses? Because many people are in the private sector, so all kinds of occupations, right? So our military personnel are involved in everything from airlines, to transportation, to grocery stores, to you name it, right? Car shops, and major businesses, in the business community. So what are some ways that business owners, especially if they're entrepreneurs, how can they generate income to sustain their businesses?
Yeah, I love the fact that you brought up Southwest. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that you brought up Southwest Airlines because Southwest Airlines has a unique way of tracking their business, and they're so niched down to tracking the numbers and the data of their business that they can tell you when they can know in advance when the storms are going to be affecting the amount of people who travel on their airlines. And so they make adjustments on a daily basis just by the data alone. Huh. So using that as an example, I would say that they first want to do that assessment again. They want to look at the assessment and discover the gaps. So Southwest, again, take Southwest for example. They looked at the gaps of what's happening. Passengers are not flying as often as they were. So they had to cut down on some of their flights and going in multiple places. They have many, many planes, I guess like 10,000 flights in one day. So they assessed, started the adjustment, and then they started filling the gaps. And being a little kind of like, I'm sure they're looking at that data to gauge on when the passenger occupation will incline, that the passengers will begin to incline again on when they're going to fly. So they're looking at how they're closing those gaps and expanding those gaps, Wow. And they're using those systems. Those particular systems are project management skills that they are using to manage their business. So a business, a normal business, needs to have that level of scope in looking at their business and knowing their data so that they can communicate and not lose the customer. Southwest is not, I can guarantee you, they're not losing any customers because they are communicating ahead of time that we've cut down these flights, and overall it's going to be better for them. They save on fuel. It's amazing their system that they use.
Wow. Because I was actually getting my car detailed earlier today, and I was speaking to one guy who his name was Muhammad, but he was telling me he has grocery stores. He has a few grocery stores he owns, and he said that when the pandemic was coming, I was asking, well, how did you adjust to that? And he said, what I did? He said, towards the end of the pandemic, for the first year, because we're still in it and we still have a ways to go. But he said, during the December time frame, I stocked up. And they were saying, what are you doing buying all these supplies? And he said, because he said at certain point, once that, and he did it that back in November because they were looking at the vaccine coming out. He said that he overstocked everything that he had. He was sold out the first week in January. Everything went. Because people started mobilizing and they had more confidence in buying and going out and pulling things into their home. And so, so what you're saying is really amazing. You had to make those adjustments in your thinking as a business person and what will sell, what won't sell, and when will it sell, right? So what should employees do while waiting to return to work, and how long does it look like the economy will stand still? I know that's
well, it looks
a
like,
million-dollar
first
question.
of all, the economy, the economy is going to be like this for a while, and it's not going back to where it's going to be so much physical anymore. Business owners are trying to see how they can get out of contracts as far as their building occupying building, because employees are pretty much starting to demand to work more at home, from home, or split their work option of not going into the office so much. And then they're looking at the different things on how it's saving, gas, the fumes in the air, pollution, and all of those things. So employees have to start looking at, again, taking the evaluation, what skills do I already have? Where is the economy going? And what do I desire to do if that shift happens, even though they enjoy going to work, and some of them may enjoy being at home, but how can you take that and transfer it into skills that you can use and be flexible? Because the creative economy in the United States is like 10.3 million jobs. It's nearly 10% of the employment from all jobs as a whole are being as a creative employment, and they're working from home. That's the new future that we're headed to. And the type of skills that are going to be needed is, one, communication, writing skills, art and visual skills, communication skills, again, open-mindedness, being able to allow yourself to think creatively, website production, things that you can do from home. These are the skills that will be in our near future. So if someone has those type of skills, I recommend that they start honing them in, taking classes or things that will help them and edify those skills and be prepared for that.
Yeah, in particular, Wanda, you bring up an excellent point. I'm glad you outlined it the way you did. That's brilliant. And I was wondering, what types of jobs will be more valuable in the economy? Because right now we're talking about all this infrastructure rebuilding. President Biden has, trillions of dollars going into this. And then we also have the green economy with, electric cars. And so a lot of things are going towards the STEM, or science, technology, engineering, mathematics arena. And they're going to need people who can actually effectuate changes. We see all what's happening in Oregon with 104-degree weather for the first time in Washington State. So what do you think is the future looks like, a projection on what kinds of jobs will be important?
Well, you're looking at media, first of all. I love that one.
Okay, of course.
Content, yes. Content writers, and that's our specialty. We help them with learning how to tell stories in all forms and fashions through film writing and, speaking, podcasts and things like that. But IT security and big data, those are huge. Big data, bringing it back to ICT security, all the breaches that we've had. So anything that we can do to start learning how to do that. Amazon is offering free training for veterans that are learning how to do AWS security. And then you have the big data. That's what Southwest uses in order to even save fuel. So they're looking at their big data months ahead, days ahead, and they can, I love Southwest system, how they are looking at the big data, and they're able to tell their employees, okay, we don't need you today because we're only going to have so many people on board, and we're changing that flight, So those are really major skills. If someone gets into the creative fields, and all of these, by the way, fall under creative, if they get into the creative skills, they will not be hurting for employment.
Okay, Wanda, we're just running out of time. And, is there a website people can go to just to see your work you're doing? And, it's always, I love talking to you. I could talk to you for hours right now. But, give us that website, someplace that people can go and get more information.
So it's sistahsoldier.com. That's SISTAH. Soldier, SOLDIER.com. And we have course that's coming up, some training on communication and project management that also helps with that. That's happening next week as well. So,
wow.
go to sistersoldier.com.
Oh, excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you, Wanda. And we have got to have we have you back on again because we have, this is our partner. She Serves, She Matter, She Voices, a coalition with partner Sistah Soldier. We are so happy to have you, and we are blessed to have you. Thank you for what you do for our veterans and their families, because when you affect a veteran, you affect the entire family and the nation. So thank you. Stay with us.
Thank
Stay
you.
with us. We're going on to a next show, and we have a nice lineup for you, and we will have Sistah Soldier back to you. I promise. Don't call in, and she's going to be back. Thanks, Wanda.